Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to be talking about my experiences and how, my best advice on how to become successful on social media. I've had social media as my full-time job for 4 years, and I also started a swimwear business based off of social media, basically. I'm going to start with 3 things that I think can deter somebody from seeing their full potential on social media. Number 1 is comparison. I know it's so easy to say into this microphone, don't compare yourself. I feel you. Comparison is probably one of the actual hardest things for me in my personal life. I think with social media, it's so hard not to compare yourself, whether that's your looks or your body or it's your career and, where you're at in your career versus where somebody else is at and feeling like, you're behind. I think number 1, understand that you are not the only one that feels this. I feel this. Your friends probably feel this. I think your favorite influencer probably feels this. Like, everybody feels this to some extent. Here's why I think comparison is just not helpful. Because number 1, nobody has your experiences. Nobody has your stories. Nobody has your past. Nobody has all of these things that make you you. They have their own stuff. And that's beautiful in its own way. But I think a lot of the times we can be deterred from posting because you're like, somebody else is already doing it and it just feels oversaturated, or it just feels like, why even post this thing that I want to do when, it feels like so many people have already done it. And what I would say to that is that find your niche and find what makes you happy. In my experience, the most successful creators and people online are people who have a niche and they stick to it. People whose audience knows what to expect. And when I say niche, that does not mean if you do one cooking video, you can only do cooking videos for the rest of your life. That's not what I mean. By niche, I mean be your most authentic, vulnerable version of you, because that's who people will fall in love with ultimately. So if you love this style of talking authentically, no cuts, and showing stuff that is really raw and vulnerable and talking about things that people don't normally talk about on social media, have that be your thing. Focus on that and have that be something that is your strength, because you may not be the clean girl aesthetic. You may not be white walls and shiny granite countertops and very clean aesthetic videos. Like that there's nothing wrong with that aesthetic either, but find where you thrive. I think that is hard because now on social media we can find anybody. And so you kind of feel like, well, actually, I'll just talk for myself because I feel this. I feel like I have to be a mix of so many different things. When it all comes down to it and I sit in my boredom and in my silent thoughts, what do I like to do? And what do I want to talk about? And that's really different from some other people. So nobody has your experiences like you have. Nobody has the stories that you have to tell. And when it comes to feeling behind, I understand this. I feel this in a lot of ways still. And I think that this is really common to feel behind. But nobody is on the same path. You may see somebody who has your ideal career trajectory or is landing jobs that you've always dreamed of, but just because they got it doesn't mean you can't. I really struggle, honestly, with feeling behind a lot of the times. I feel like, when I see somebody book a job that I've always prayed for, or when I see somebody doing, a brand deal that I've literally reached out to 1,000,000 times for, or, whatever it may be, it's hard not to build resentment for those types of things and be like, why do they get it and I don't? But that type of mindset is not helpful to anybody. It's not helpful to you, because then you're putting in negative thoughts in your head like, they got it, which means I won't, which, by the way, isn't true. You're completely different from somebody else. And that's why I think comparison is literally the thief of joy. That quote is like, it's just so true. Just the way that everything has played out in divine timing for you before, it will happen again. There's no such thing as being behind. Everybody is on their own path. Everybody goes through life at different times. Some people get married at 18. Some people don't get married till they're 40, and neither one is right. And marriage is a random example that I'm using, but I mean that in any way. You can apply any situation there. Something might happen to somebody at 16, and it might not happen to another person until they're 50, and you literally don't know the things that you're praying for when they'll come true. So just keep praying for them and have trust that the way that everything has worked out in the past will work out again. Number 2 thing that I want to focus on. First was comparison. Second is judgment. When you're trying to pursue social media, whether it's, I think it started with me, with my friends judging me, and my boyfriend also at the time, not my boyfriend now, being like, you're so cringy. And people will only call you cringy until you make it, and then once you make it, they'll ask how you did it. So continue to be cringe. Cringe is fucking cool. Sorry, excuse my hard F. Literally, cringe is cool. To put yourself out there and to be doing something that you're passionate about, it doesn't matter if you're the only one that likes it. It literally does not matter. I think it always starts with your friends judging you, maybe. And also, if your friends are judging you, I'm just going to give you a pro tip. Those friendships never work out. And this is sad to say, but I think a lot of people don't have the best intentions, when it comes to friendships. And I think that only you can really decide whether or not you think your friends have good intentions in the relationship. But I've had a lot of friendships where, maybe I start to have a big moment or, see successes in my own personal life, and that person's jealous. And jealousy is very normal. I mean, I think we have all absolutely felt that. But also, in your closest relationships, you do not want to be around people who are judgmental and jealous, because those two things lead to people trying to break you down, trying to persuade you to do otherwise. And those types of relationships just aren't beneficial for either of you. So it starts with, I think, sometimes your friends, or maybe they're not your friends. Maybe they're your peers or people in school or whatever it may be. And then I think once you reach a level where maybe now people that are outside of your inner circle are watching you. So whether that's like, you're starting to gain some followers on social media or whatever it may look like for you, maybe now you have some outside opinions, coming in that you didn't have before. Here's what I have to say about people judging you and leaving hate comments. I know that it hurts and it sucks, but there are 2 types of people. There are creators and there are consumers. And the people who take the time to leave hate comments are consumers. And at the end of the day, it's not bad to be either. It's bad to leave a hate comment, but it's not bad to, not want to make content and just consume content. But you have to realize that a lot of people will criticize more than they create, and they'll criticize things that they can't create. So it doesn't matter if somebody's, commenting on your video being like, this is so cringe, whatever. They didn't make it. They didn't try. They're sitting there watching the video and then leaving a comment about it. So what does it really matter? And another thing that has honestly really helped me is nobody cares. Nobody actually cares that much. The way that you're thinking about yourself and the way that you're, going through your day thinking like, oh my gosh, was I awkward in that conversation? Or, I looked so weird here, or whatever it may be. The things that you're overthinking, nobody else is overthinking about you. And even if they are, it's a moment and then it passes. Everybody's thinking about themselves in the way that you're thinking about yourself. Nobody is overanalyzing you and your actions. Nobody really cares. Nobody cares what you're wearing. Nobody cares what you're doing. Nobody actually cares. And that's what, I think TikTok in specific will do, is it puts the spotlight effect on you. And if you are getting hate comments, it makes you feel like that is the only thing in the world that people think about you. But that's not true. If you can do this and put it down, you are good. You're good. You can put it down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if somebody's calling you fat, ugly, whatever mean. Whatever mean names. People come up with the most random shit nowadays. I don't even know what the Gen Z terms are. But me being 20, literally, I'm a grandma. But genuinely, it doesn't matter what people say because it lasts a second. It's a scroll, a comment, and then they leave. And it's not like anybody really cares. Nobody cares. Except the people who actually know you in your real life. And that's why it's so important to have a work life. If your work life is social media, to have that and create boundaries with that. And have a personal life. Have, relationships with either a significant other or friendships that you're putting, growth into, and, a community that you're around that lives in the real world and that knows the real you, and that if you are doing something effed up, if you are needing to take accountability for something, the people in your real life can, say, hey, I don't like the way that you, talked about so-and-so like this, or I don't like the way that you went about this situation because it was blah, blah, blah. Having people in your real life is what matters. And social media, you gotta look at it, if you're wanting to see success there, as a job. Those hate comments are not personal. And I know that's like, shut the fuck up, Sienna. I know. But also, it's just so true. Okay, my third and final point is timing. If it hasn't happened for you yet, that's because it's not meant for you yet. There's perfect timing for everything. And I think that timing also plays a really important part in where you're at. There are seasons where, you may feel very creative and you may feel like you have a million ideas and you're jotting down a million things that you want to do. And then there are seasons, and I know I've had these seasons, where I'm just completely burnt out, where I don't want to share my life. I don't want to share anything personal. I don't want to share anything of substance. It's just like I'm burnt out. And that's okay to have both of these seasons. And that's honestly what makes life so beautiful, is that in those creative, modes, you're like, I feel so on it right now and I feel so inspired. And then there's seasons for resting. And this is how life goes. There are seasons for rest and there are seasons for work. And understanding that you need to have both to be successful. God gives us gifts in perfect timing. Like I said, your timing is not off. Your timing is not behind. But to whom much is given, much is required. So I think that in those resting seasons, you have to really, and this is what I've also, been told by mentors and teachers, because I've been in a resting season. When you're in a resting season, you need to strengthen your mind, strengthen your faith. Faith for me has been everything. I mean, I don't think I could do social media and not let the validation of it affect me if I wasn't rooted in Christ. And by validation, I mean, I'm able to, for the most part, let hate comments roll off my back now, because I know who I am. And I know that the weight of those things doesn't matter, because what ultimately matters is my relationship with Christ, my faith, my view on the world, my perspective. And when you're constantly consuming negativity, whether that's social media and, negative people's opinions about yourself or other people or whatever it may be, when that's what you're consuming, that's how you'll view the world. That's your perspective. When you're focusing on goodness and positivity and the light in the world, that's what you'll see too. So in those resting seasons, in both seasons, it's important to shape your mindset and prepare yourself for when these things do happen that you've wanted for so long, that you're ready for them. And that God gives us these gifts and these good things in perfect timing. Also, I know in my life, there have been things that I've prayed so hard for that I did not get. And honestly, I truly do believe that sometimes rejection is protection. And when you don't get something that you think you want so bad, it's because God's plans are 1,000 times better than yours. And there is a plan. There's ultimately a plan to prosper you, a plan to give you good things. And a lot of those things that I know that personally I wished for and hoped for probably would not have been good if I got them. Just having faith that everything works out the way that it is supposed to, and just as it has in the past is how it will continue to happen. Good things do happen, and they're in perfect timing. With that being said, I think those are all like kind of mental things that you should, do. Number 1 was comparison. Number 2 was judgment. Number 3 was timing. But with that in mind, an actual tip that I can give you for being successful on social media is consistency. You're not letting people's judgment get to you. You're not comparing yourself, and you're really just focusing on creating, sticking to, your strengths. Like I was saying, your niche, things that you're good at, what your authentic personality. When you're consistent and you're authentic / your niche, it's like a recipe for greatness. It's a recipe for success because you're you. But like I said, there's also seasons for everything. There's timing that plays into it. You may not always be in a posting 5 times a day mood, and that is okay. And you have to take that resting season to get into that creating season. Honestly, I think that's all I have for today. I don't know if anything I said made sense. This is what I do, is I say stuff and then I overthink it all, and I'm like, did that actually make sense? Hopefully. I guess we'll see you later. I love you all. You're doing amazing. Bye.